Communications from the Governor.
Office of the Governor, Mark Dayton. The Honorable Kurt L. Doudt, Speaker of the House. Dear Mr. Speaker, I have vetoed and returning Chapter 178, House File 2835, a bill relating to public safety.
A copy of the Governor's letter has been placed on each member's desk. Representative Baker offers the following motion.
Baker moves that House File number 2835, Chapter number 138, be now reconsidered and repassed, the objections of the Governor notwithstanding, pursuant to Article 4, Section 23 of the Constitution of the State of Minnesota.
Recognize the member from Candy, Ojai, Representative Baker.
Mr. Speaker and members, that is my motion. And members, I want to remind everybody, I'm asking for a very important vote here tonight. It's not often that we are presented with such an important vote, but I want to remind us that on March 22nd of this year, out of this body, we passed a really nice deputy register support bill with over 100 votes off of this body. We need to make sure we get our deputy registers the support they deserve after such a horrible rollout that we all have experienced with our local offices, our local deputy registers, and the damage to their reputations that took place over the last 8, 9, 10 months. Members, we have thousands and thousands of dollars that are ready to go out to your communities. Your communities in North Mankato, Representative Considine, that are counting on that support. Representative Bly in Northfield, Sarah Wobleski is looking for some support. Just about $40,000 coming their way. In the Rochester area, Representative Liebling and others, over $300,000 are going to 3 different offices that are needing this help so that they can be made partially whole by the extra overtime, the renovations, the frustration in staffing and retraining that they've had to go through. I am sad that the governor said no, we won't give them this money. But members, remind this. We gave the governor a standalone $10 million bill, $10 million standalone bill that gave him the emergency money to keep MNLARS moving forward. We didn't attach it to this bill. I was surprised and shocked this was given back to us. Please send the message back to the governor or back to the deputy registers, because this is up to us right now. You have the ability to do this. Members, I urge a green vote tonight. Thank you.
Recognize the member from Dakota, Representative Hansen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And members, I would urge a no on the veto override. And yes, I recommend a no. And I recommend a no on a veto override because problem solving involves everybody working together. Now, there were proposals back starting in November, December, January, February, March. Even when we had the proposal for the $10 million, we said, take $1 million and set up the fund for the deputy registrars. Let's get it going. Let's get it started. And yes, it was my amendment. It was my amendment that said, let's get the dollars here. And I also said, let's make it from general funds. But no. Nope, not listening. Take it from funds, drain the funds that aren't there. Don't use the general fund. So I'm fully prepared, Representative Baker, if you want to call out everybody here who's getting money, I'm fully prepared for the constituents who are gasping in the galleries, because a real solution would have been comprehensive. A real solution would have involved problem solving that would have solved MNLARS, would have solved the deputy registrars, would have been able to move forward rather than just doing the catch as catch can. So only doing reimbursement from funds that are limited is not a long-term solution. And we have to start thinking about the we rather than the me. So I recommend no on the veto override.
The member from Hennepin, Representative Hortman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. I also recommend a no vote on the veto override. This is a different vote than a vote on a bill, and this governor has given us no reason to override him. This failure of the money to the deputy registrars is not a failure of Representative Baker or a failure of Governor Dayton, who vetoed this bill, but it's a failure of this year's session to engage in agreements and compromise and solutions. And when a partial solution gets fired at the governor that doesn't work, that drains revenue funds that have a required minimum in them, and there's no comprehensive agreement to deal with the MNLAR's problems, then, Mr. Speaker and members, we don't really have a solution at all. We just have one party throwing rocks at the other. And members, I strongly encourage a no vote on the veto override.
The member from Dakota, Representative Garofalo.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. And thank you, Representative Baker, for standing up and fighting for our deputy registrars today. We got a standalone bill that went to the governor for MNLARs to bail out the government problem. And now, with a crisis and an emergency, we have the only one thing standing between helping those deputy registrars and them facing a crisis and bankruptcy. And that is a do-nothing DFL. A do-nothing DFL that is opposing education funding, opposing tax conformity, and now a crisis created by government that is destroying these deputy registrars. You members, you voted green on this. You supported it. You knew it was the right thing. Don't be a do-nothing DFL. Vote green with Representative Baker and support this override.
The member from Carver, Representative Nash.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I stood on the stairs today in front of a group of people who drove quickly to come down here to say that they needed your help. They needed your help to stand up and override a veto from a governor who said, send me a standalone bill and I'll sign it. So we did. And what happened? It got vetoed. Those people are about out of business. And Representative Hortman said it's because of failure. Well, it was because of failure of leadership that we had a software project that didn't work. And it's hurting businesses across the state. We heard from the governor that the buck stops with him, but here's where the real truth is. The bucks stopped with him. He refused to help people in need because of a problem that his administration caused. So if you have any conscience, if you have any compassion for these people, you're going to vote green.
Any further discussion on the veto override? Seeing no further discussion, Representative Baker, final word.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. Again, we have folks that were crying on the front steps today. They are going to go out of business if this doesn't happen. They've been waiting already months longer than they should have been. You have a lot to answer for if you go home and you start seeing closed on the outside of those businesses. Your constituents are going to have to drive a lot further to get the services that they've been getting for a long, long time. And truly, as Representative Nash has said, it was the failure of leadership in DVS and Minute that the governor has taken full responsibility for. To say no to this, you and anybody who votes red has a lot to explain. Thank you, and please support this bill.
Seeing no further discussion, the clerk will take the roll. The clerk will close the roll. There being 79 ayes and 52 nays, not having received the constitutionally required two-thirds vote, the Baker motion does not prevail, and House File 2835 is not repassed.